What's up, you guys? Today I want to go over 5 ways that are going to help you improve your squat. So firstly, I want to start off with your equipment that you should be using in order to maximize your strength for your squat. So first piece of equipment that I highly recommend are squat shoes. Depending on how your feet are, I have an arch in my feet, so by wearing squat shoes, that extra heel there gives me a little bit more stability. I find that when I use Chucks, feet aren't actually stable, so driving out my hips is a lot more difficult for me because I'll come up on my toes. If you have flat feet, then by all means you can use Chuck Taylors or even bare feet. If you use Nike shoes, like, let me show you which ones. Like these ones, these tennis shoes or whatever, don't. You're gonna hurt yourself because there's a cushion in place. You're not stable at all. So if you can't afford squat shoes or even get some Chucks, just make sure you're squatting in bare feet at least. Second piece of equipment are knee sleeves. I need my knee sleeves. For whatever reason, my knees seem to crack when I descend into a squat. So the knee sleeves just really keep my knees stable and it helps them to avoid from buckling. So I actually really need my knee sleeves. Even if I am doing lighter weight and just higher reps, I still require my knee sleeves in order to make sure that my knees are in place. If you are doing more higher reps, then by all means you don't really need knee sleeves, but if you are trying to increase your strength, I do highly recommend some knee sleeves. Next one is a belt. I have an Inzer belt. You do not need to get one. These are really expensive, even though they have a lifetime warranty on them. A belt, people think that it is cheating. It is not cheating. It is just to help brace your abdominal wall, so it'll keep your spine neutral all the way throughout the squat. If you are looking to increase your strength with your squats, I do recommend that you wear a belt. It doesn't have to be an Inzer belt. So last piece of equipment is wrist wraps. If you are a low bar squatter, then I do recommend that you get some wrist wraps. It can put a lot of pressure on your wrists when you have the bar lower on your scapula, so by wearing the wrist wraps, it just really helps keep your wrists nice and strong and just keeps the pressure off of them. Quickly show you guys how to put these on because most people put them on wrong. So this is how people normally put them on. So it'll be down by their wrist like this. Wrap it around. And people will wear it like that down on their actual wrist. This is actually not the way to do it because as you can see, my wrist can still go back quite a bit and it's not protected as well as it could be. What you want to actually do is you want to start wrapping more so up here and wrap really tight. So if anybody sees me in the gym, I'm going like this as soon as my set's over, and then as soon as I'm ready to go squat again, I'll wrap back up because of how tight it is to help keep my wrist nice and protected. So what you want to do is you want to come up here, start up here and really pull really tight, and I'm grabbing it with my hand on that side and pulling all the way around and wrapping, and it should be more so up there so you can see like my veins are popping out with how tight it is, but it keeps my wrist way more secure. So as soon as I'm done squatting, I'll like go like that and loosen it up and shake it out a little bit because of how tight it is. But it's really much more supportive, especially if you are a low bar squatter. Another pro tip, just quickly wrap it back up. If you are considering competing in powerlifting, I didn't know this until I went out for my first attempt. You aren't allowed to have it wrapped around your thumb in a powerlifting meet. So if you are considering doing powerlifting in the near future, I recommend you practice without this. So what you do is you still wrap it as tight as you can, and then you take your thumb off and you put it down right here, and you're not allowed that on your thumb, so you need to squat like that. So it's a little bit more difficult, it's a little bit more uncomfortable. I wish I practiced like that. It was a little bit weird to get used to, but if you aren't doing a powerlifting meet, make sure you wrap your thumb in. Keeps it much more secure. So that is the equipment I use, and I highly recommend if you are looking to increase your strength.
Eyes in the sky, gazing far into the night.
Hi, are you helping me? Thanks, bruh. People appreciate you. So let's quickly distinguish the difference between low bar squats and high bar squats. A low bar squat is where the bar rests on the shelf down from your traps, where you typically rest the bar for a high bar squat. Now, this is a more advanced technique, and I honestly don't think that this is a good technique for everybody to utilize. The reason I utilize it is because, as you can see, my squat, I have to lean further forward, and this is due to the length of my femurs and the shortness of my torso. So in order for the bar path to be in a completely straight line, I actually have to lean further forward. So the low bar squat allows the bar to rest more securely on my back. So that is why I perform a low bar squat. If you are able to squat more upright and keep a straight bar path, then I don't recommend even trying to do a low bar squat. A high bar squat is totally fine, and that's where it rests on the top of your traps right up here. And it's less pressure on your wrists that way. So that is why I do a low bar squat. Again, this is not a technique that everybody should utilize. But if you are looking to make the switch between a high bar squat and a low bar squat, I definitely recommend easing into it. Don't start squatting your max that you normally do at a high bar squat with the low bar squat. I had to drop my weight by maybe 20 to 40% before I got used to it, because it does put a lot of pressure on your lower back. It does put a lot of pressure on your wrists. So it does take some time for these areas to get used to a low bar squat. So definitely ease into it. Make sure you lift lighter weight and work your way up to your new maxes. All right, so let's quickly talk about the walkout when it comes to squatting. Regardless if you're squatting high bar or low bar, the same process is going to apply. So when you're pulling yourself underneath the bar, you really want to bury your traps in place and make sure that you are completely secure and that you're basically not going anywhere. For a cue for myself, I pretend that I'm like screwing myself into place. So when I pull myself under the bar, I shimmy my traps around and make sure that I am not moving at all. And then once I feel comfortable and that I feel like I'm secure in place, I take a deep breath in and brace my abdominal wall. Once I get that air locked into my stomach, then I will extend my knees, because I'm typically in a slight bend in my knees when I pull myself under the bar. Once I extend my knees, the barbell should come off the racks straight up, and then you're going to either do a 2 or a 3 step back. I like this 3-step approach. I'm able to get my left foot into place, and I again pretend that I am screwing it into place. So I'll take a step back with my left, my right, and then my left again. Before you descend on the squat, you want to make sure that you let the barbell settle. When you walk backwards, you're going to notice that the barbell is going to bounce around just a little bit, so you don't want to descend while it is bouncing around. Otherwise, this is going to lead to injury and you're just not going to be as stable. So before I descend, I let the barbell settle. Then once the bar is settled, before you descend, again, you want to take a deep breath of air in and lock it into your stomach. To lock the air in, you're just going to place your tongue to the roof of your mouth, and this is going to ensure that the air is actually locked into your stomach, so your abdominal wall is braced the entire time through the entire movement. So once you take your deep breath in, then you're finally ready to descend. When you descend, you don't want to bend at the knees. So many people will bend at the knees. This could actually lead to a lot of injury, especially as you're lifting heavier. You want to actually bend at your hips first. So I pretend that I am just driving my hips back. So if you just stand up straight and you just push your hips back, like, I'll show you what I mean. So before like you do any weight or anything, versus bending at your knees. So if you just stand straight like this versus bending like that, see, I'm bending at the knees first. You don't want to do that. You want to bend here first. So keep a little bend in your knees and then push your hips back with your hands like this, and you're gonna go like that, and then you bend at the knees. Does that make sense? So it just as a cue, pretend that you're pushing your pubic bone with your fingers. Push it back and bend at the hips first. So that's what I mean by that. So bend at your hips first, and then your knees will naturally bend afterwards. Now, when you descend, so many people will come to parallel and they think that they've reached depth. This is not necessarily the case. You actually want to have your hip bones just below your knees. So when you come down to parallel, this actually isn't depth. And if you are going to do powerlifting, you will be called on it, and it's not deep enough. You've reached depth once your hip bone is below your knees. So make sure that you are doing that first. If you find that you can't come down all the way to depth, then that's probably a mobility issue. So you want to work on that before you work on increasing your strength. Now, as you're at the bottom, as you come to stand back up, it's not until you come to the middle of the point of standing up that you let all the air out. If you let the air out at the bottom of the squat, you're going to lose stability, and this will increase your likelihood of flexion, or also known as a butt wink. So your back is essentially not neutral anymore. You want to make sure your back is a straight line throughout the entire movement. So once you have come down and you're ready to stand back up, the most important thing that you want to focus on when you're standing back up is that you are pulling the barbell down and you're trying to essentially break it in half as a cue. So when the barbell is on your back and you're holding it with your hands, you want to try to break it in half, and this is going to help you stand up. At the same time, you want to try to focus on opening up your hips in order to stand up. This has helped me increase my strength insanely. If I don't open up my hips, I am not able to stand back up. Even if I am struggling with the weight, I automatically think to myself, okay, open up your hips more. And another cue for this is just pretend that you're driving your knees further out. Once you register that cue, it'll help you increase your strength so much. And then as you are driving out your hips, make sure you squeeze your glutes, and this will help you finish the lift so you stand back up. Now when you stand back up, you'll notice that the barbell is going to be bouncy again. So when the barbell's bouncy, before you re-rack the weight, make sure you let the barbell settle. So I wait like maybe a second or two, and then you step forward and then re-rack your weight.
Eyes in the sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through? For you, for you, for you, for
What are you doing? Out. Hi. Kiss us. Oh, Jesus. So before you actually get into squatting, I cannot stress enough the importance of warming up. As you'll see right here, I actually treat my warm-up sets like they're my heavy sets. So this is to help me practice more, because practice makes perfect. You want to practice so your body gets used to the motor patterns so that you're able to actually be more efficient with the squat as you go up in strength. So when I am practicing, even with the barbell, I will pretend that I am actually lifting heavy. So when I pull myself under, I am breathing how I would normally breathe. I am taking my 3-step back approach. I'm letting the barbell settle, and I'm making sure I reach depth and come up with as much power as you can. So by doing this has helped me practice, so my body's gotten used to the motor pattern so I can increase my weight. So by pretending that your lighter sets are heavy, your actual heavier sets are going to feel a lot easier. So make sure you warm up. Right, Hoot? Tell the people to warm up. Warm up, right? Yeah.
the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through? For you, for
tip is to prioritize your mobility and your stretching. So mobilizing before you actually start squatting is going to really help you engage the areas that you are trying to work. Your quads, your glutes, and your hamstring. It is a big compound movement. You never want to just go into squatting without properly mobilizing your body first. I also don't just focus on my lower body. This is actually a big upper body compound movement as well. I really find that it engages my shoulders quite a bit, so make sure you also incorporate an upper body mobility routine when you are doing squats as well. And then afterwards, just making sure that you prioritize some static stretching in there, because your muscles get really tight from weightlifting, and this is just going to really help you recover a lot quicker so you can continue to progress in your squats. So I'm not sure if that was 5 tips or not, but whatever, no matter what amount of tips I have given you guys today, I hope you guys utilize them, and I hope you guys got something out of it and you start incorporating those tips into your regimen because it's really going to help you improve your squats. There's always room for improvement. Even though I feel like I've gotten to a good place with my squats, I'm always looking for areas that I can improve my technique and my form. Never stop improving, you guys. So hope you like this episode. I'll see you guys tomorrow.